Dr. Guruswamy?
My lords, thank you. My lord, the Chief Justice may recognize, my lords, that the Hindu Marriage Act is not an issue necessarily of personal law. It is statutory law. And we will demonstrate that. The terms of the Constitution, the reform of the Hindu Marriage Act has always been in the context of statutory law. So, my lords, to that extent and that extent only, in the context of statutory law and making statutory law workable, because my lords will know, my lords, that the origin of the Hindu Marriage Act, the Hindu Code, did something that was not permitted in sacramental Hindu law, which is intercaste marriage, Sagotra marriage, divorce,
Inheritance to
inheritance.
Dr. Guruswamy, but there's also Dr. Guruswamy, there may be some amount of sage wisdom in also going about our interpretative task in incremental manners, because otherwise, do we then confine ourselves only to the Hindu Marriage Act? And what about the Parsi Marriage Act? What about the Muslim law? What about the Jews? What about the Buddhists? A lot of other communities. Therefore, perhaps one option for the court, because the Constitution itself and the law is itself evolving. So, and the court has to be mindful of the fact that we are doing by process of interpretation what you're calling upon us to do. So it may be, there may be some element of judicial discretion, and perhaps going incrementally, covering a canvas for the present, which would substantially then, assuming that even there you are right, because you have to hear the other side, confine yourself to this incremental canvas, and then allow society to evolve, allow Parliament's perceptions to evolve over a period of time, because Parliament is also responding to the evolution of society over a period of time.
What is the canvas after Ms. Guruswamy is finished? I want just 3 or 4 minutes. We finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
But it's only 3 or 4 because learned friend is given, my learned friend is given.
Because we can't deny the fact.
On canvas.
We can't deny the fact that there is undoubtedly the legislative element also involved, which is why there are states, the Parliament, what the
My
solicitor
respectful
said.
submission.
Having regard to that, we need to balance out various facets. So this might be perhaps one way forward.
That's the only thing I'll say to this.
So we don't have to decide everything to decide something in this case.
No, my lords, I follow. The only thing I'll say to... Yes, my lords.
One is the channel pointed out by Mr. Rodgi in a restrictive sense that only construe the Special Marriage Act. If it founds favor with us, it will give us status of marriage. If it not, he rightly said you are out. Therefore, whether other issues at all arise or don't arise will depend on how we interpret this aspect. Other issues may survive for another day or may not survive for the time being for another day, depending on what view we take on this core issue. And in the wisdom, as the Chief Justice said, sometimes incremental changes in issues of social and society ramifications are possibly a better course. There is a time for everything. There is time for some things to come. Therefore, what was being suggested was, can we, for the time being, confine it only to this limited issue? Don't step into, let me complete. Don't step into personal law issues under different religious norms. Don't get into any of those issues. But only say that, can the Special Marriage Act be interpreted in a manner by reading into it a general, a gender-neutral situation, period.
Can I say?
And perhaps you can then help us, you can assist us, and we'll ask the solicitor also to assist us on how we can sort of develop the notion of a civil union, which really finds recognition in our statute, namely the Special Marriage Act. See, because now, for instance, I'm sure you wouldn't also deny the fact that between the time that Navtej was delivered and today, our society has found much greater acceptance, say, of same-sex relationships. For the last 5 years that we have seen it unfold,
Definitely.
And that's very positive, because you find that there is a greater acceptance in our universities. And by the way, our universities don't consist of only urban kids. They all come
Yes.
from the
Yes, of course,
smaller,
all over the country.
smaller areas. Yes.
Yes.
But there is this acceptance which is evolving. So, in this evolving consensus, the court is also playing a dialogical role to
Yes.
create that consensus and move towards a more equal future.
My lord,
While being conscious of our own limitations, which
Yes,
we can't
Manoj.
deny
I
in the legislative arena.
I follow. My lords, the only request I would make is that the question may be left open to be adjudicated.
Obviously, we're not going to reject what we don't.
Yes,
We
Manoj.
can always confine our
Yes.
canvas and then not reject.
Yes,
Obviously not.
Yes. And my
That is not
second
necessary for the court to do at all.
point is simply this, that the second point is simply this, that marriage is not only, as if that were not
But leave broader and broader issues for an evolving future.
Yes, but marriage is not only a question of dignity, as if that were not enough. It is also a bouquet of rights that LGBTQ people are being denied post-Johar. Right? Those rights are simple things. Bank account, life insurance, medical insurance. I, for instance, frankly,
Rental accommodation.
I cannot buy SCBA medical insurance.
Citizenship.
I am a member of the SCBA bar. I cannot buy my family medical insurance from the SCBA. So this is the reality of how rights are exercised. Rights are exercised when you are able to protect your relationships. One facet of that right is a constitutional value of dignity, equality, fraternity. The other facet of that rights is the day-to-day business of life. And the day-to-day business of life is all of these things. Now, when we look at law in India, and all common law is premised like this, that most rights flow from this notion of blood relationship, i.e., either being born into the family or being married. That is the problem, my lords. And so, therefore, short of full marriage, whether my lords find that under the Special Marriage Act or be that as it may, short of full marriage, it will mean, if it's short of that, it will mean that subsequently, not just Mr. Rodgi, Mr. Kripal, me, we will keep coming back to court to have to litigate individual issues of discrimination. I am not able to nominate my partner for life insurance. Now, these are not theoretical issues. This is our life. Right? So therefore we say marriage, because that is the notion, not only for society, but that is the notion that the legal framework, which is premised on common law, understand and takes within its fold. So therefore, my lords, respectfully, therefore the problem is that anything short of that, if it is a civil union, so this correspondence will now start, my lord, with insurance company, with banks, with hospitals, with wills, with estate duties, with anything that is prerequisite to being able to live a life outside the home, including buying that home.
Now, let's
So
just
there are folds here.
Mr. Rodgi, taking a cue from what she says,
Yeah.
see, even in Puttaswamy, when we laid down the right of privacy,
Yeah.
we were conscious that it had many nuances. We said we can't beforehand take all nuances into account and rule on this thing. As it evolves, things will evolve. That's the basis of the.
These are absolute day-to-day issues.
So,
Take the Income Tax Act. The two partners can't give a gift. Gift is free of tax.
Rodgi,
But provided you are married.
well, there are two
if you
kinds.
succeed, I'm saying if you succeed on the fundamental issue,
Yes.
that it can be read
marriage.
into,
Things will work out.
many nuances will start, may take time to work out, it may require more visits to the court, one can't say. But it is very difficult to say that we work out all possible nuances now, even the nuances which you think exist at the moment, to be taken as a bundle of things and dealt with.
So,
Therefore, the suggestion which was following was, let us, if we confine it to this fundamental issue under a particular act, that's it.
Yes, my lord.
We don't touch personal
I-
laws,
I-
we don't touch anything else. We don't get into anything else.
Well, on the canvas,
on-
I want to say this first.
Yeah.
On the canvas, just 1 second, but on canvas, there are two words here. Of course, on the confinement, it is with great respect, the better profitable way of doing it. There are very valuable arguments by the Hindu Marriage Act batch, or even by other personal laws. Both of us, in the two lead matters are not